This Friday, April 7th, FX and Hulu present a brand new installment of the New York Times Presents docuseries focused on the legacy of Jay Dilla, one of the most influential figures in hip-hop music and culture, which just happens to be celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Back again to tell us more about this series and the ways you can celebrate hip-hop on Xfinity platforms is our very own music editor, Quam.
Thank you, David. And yes, it is hip-hop's 50th anniversary. It's honestly insane just how far the genre has come in such a short amount of time. I mean, hip-hop has dominated the airways and now the streaming platforms. Really has become the marquee genre. I mean, I'm not trying to poo-poo on every other genre. I love music, but hip-hop is definitely at the forefront in the cultural zeitgeist. And to commemorate the milestone, we built out a uber hip-hop destination with biopics, documentaries, docuseries such as The Legacy of Jay Dilla, which does celebrate the influential, the iconic, and honestly not very well-known producer, unless like you're in the know and you love just hip-hop history. But if you want to see more, there is also look at the queens of hip-hop, the best albums. I rank the top albums. Please, no one come for my list. This is my personal list, but I am dripping in objectivity, so I'm not wrong, of course. The best songs of all time and so much more. But what you can't get in this hip-hop destination is some trivia. And that's what I have for my co-host today. David, Sammy, are you ready to learn about hip-hop?
It's definitely going to be an education because I'm not going to get any of these correct.
Oh, I don't think you will either. But I have faith in Sammy. So let's show up the first question of hip-hop's trivia. Which New York borough is credited for being the birthplace of hip-hop? Sammy, I will toss it to you first for your answer.
Okay, I'm gonna go Brooklyn.
Okay, that's a good choice. The home of Biggie and Jay-Z. Can't go wrong with Brooklyn. David, what is your answer?
I would have said the same thing because Jay-Z's always going Brooklyn.
So is your answer Brooklyn as well?
It is. My answer is also Brooklyn.
See, you're not a strategist. You should have went with a different borough, so one of y'all would have got it
Bronx?
right. It is the Bronx.
Ah,
it is the Bronx, the birthplace of hip-hop.
I was so sure it was Brooklyn, honestly.
Nope. So the story goes that they were DJing, and so not even DJ, because DJing wasn't really a thing at the time, and so essentially in these house parties in the Bronx, folks would be playing disco records. And one point, somehow, some way, someone started scratching the disco record, and it made for a really cool chop. And essentially, people will start ripping on it, and there's like coming up with like poetry slams, essentially. And thus, the birth of hip hop was formed in the Bronx in someone's sweaty apartment complex, where it was just probably a whole lot of fun because I can only imagine what those parties were like. All right, on to the next question. What are the 5 elements or pillars of hip hop? I'll be very surprised if y'all get this one. David, I'll go to you first.
What are even the options? Give me one pillar and let me figure out the other 4.
I'll give you one because I just mentioned it. DJ. As I mentioned, DJing wasn't really a thing. People weren't scratching records until they started scratching disco records. And so DJing is one of the pillar of hip hop. David, please give me at least one.
Is it like a pillar, like the whole culture of hip hop?
It's essentially what hip hop's foundation is built on. I mean, this is a bit archaic. I mean, I'm sure if I asked any modern day rapper under the age of like 22, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh. But for hip hop purists,
microphone?
The microphone's been around way before hip hop, David.
I don't know. Is it a clothing related thing?
It's a part of it. It's a part of it. Just give me something.
Sammy, please save me here.
Okay. Well, before you said DJing, I was gonna say like love, because Biggie spread love. But now I'm gonna go like beats. It's all about the beats.
I'll give you beats because that is part of it. Beatboxing. Can we please show the answers and take them out their misery?
Oh my God.
So emceeing, which is the art of actually rapping or speaking word over the mic. DJing is which I just mentioned. Breaking or breakdancing, the whole dance element to hip hop, which I want to say it's beautiful that it's still around and it's just expounded. So since hip hop really started in New York, The style of dance at the time was, breakdancing and b-boying. But as hip hop evolved and as the culture has evolved and become more regional, you see that there's so many more dances in the culture of hip hop, and you see it even today with like the whole Philly, shake your hips thing. That's still, just a subset of what the initial element of, breakdancing or b-boy was. So it's beautiful to really see how it's evolved and just become so much more of a larger thing. And like I said, it's global now. It's global. You have people shaking hips all over the world. Graffiti, we all see graffiti everywhere. We now call them murals, but back in the day, graffiti was a way of like, showcasing your art and your talent. And one way that I look at this as evolving to today is more so in fashion. Because the overall purpose of graffiti was really, showcase the beauty of, the culture. And now you see that within fashion and how fashion has been influenced a lot by hip hop and also vice versa. And it's just one of those ways where the evolution of hip hop has, taken on this new life. And then, as Sammy mentioned, beatboxing or what'd you say? Would you say, Sammy? Beat producing?
I just said beats.
Beats. Hard beats. Yes. Before, back in the day, it was either you're scratching over a record or you had just folks just beatboxing. And again, that has transformed over time. I remember being in like, middle school and high school, and folks would be playing the Clips beat, grinding, and everyone would start like rapping over it. And this is a way that, hip hop has, again, just transformed. And now we have full studios dedicated to producers and doing this incredible work on these DAW systems or digital audio workstations. And yeah, these are the 5 pillars of hip hop.
I really learned something today.
That's what I'm here for. Just dropping facts and dropping bars. No pun intended. On to the third question, please. Okay, so what was the first hip hop album to be nominated and win the Grammy for Best Album of the Year? Or I think the actual the category is Album of the Year. But regardless, David, I'll throw this to you first. You actually might get this one right.
I think I know this one. Before I say it, I'm gonna let Sammy take a guess because I'm pretty sure I know this one.
Oh, I feel less confident in my answer, but I'm still gonna go maybe Lauryn Hill.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. What a fantastic album. What a fantastic album. It was the first hip hop album to win Album of the Year, which was such an incredible milestone, given that like at the time of the Grammys, especially in the 90s, when hip hop was officially recognized as a genre, at least worth of giving out awards to. Those awards weren't even televised. You wouldn't even see the hip hop categories. And there were a ton of albums beforehand that could have, won Album of the Year, probably should have. But the fact that I went to Lauryn Hill is just a beautiful thing, especially since, hip hop is a genre that's been dominated by men historically and still even today. And for it to go to Lauryn Hill for this outstanding album, really her only true album, was just a moment to really behold. And I honestly want to offer up a second question. This is not a part of the script. I'm going completely off the script. I know Brad's probably like, oh my God. What was the second hip hop album to be not nominated, but the second hip hop album to win Album of the Year? David, I'll throw it to you first. Since you had it, you were so confident the first time around.
I have no idea. Did Outkast win Album of the Year?
They did. Oh, yes.
I can't believe I got it.
Yes, Outkast's Speaker Box. That album won Album of the Year, and those are the only 2 hip hop albums that actually ever won Album of the Year, which is crazy. Kendrick Lamar got snubbed back in, what year was that? 2014, 1989. Beat out To Pimp a Butterfly, which is a crime if you ask me. But that is the hip hop trivia for today. Thank you, Sammy and David, for participating. And you can find all this and more just by saying hip hop or music into your Xfinity voice remote.